Okay, brothers and sisters, welcome to the next episode of the Porn to Purpose podcast. We are broadcasting live here today inside of the Porn to Purpose community. Today, we have a very special guest, a gentleman that I'm honored to have join us here inside of the community. We have Satyen Raja of WarriorSage. Satyen, thank you so much for being here today. It's a true honor, sir.
It's a joy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Satyen, I'd love to start today just by reading your bio, if that's okay. And then we can go ahead and dig into some conversation. Thank you. Satyen Raja is known as the private transformational mentor, advisor, and confidant to the powerful and influential, a remarkable living synthesis of Eastern wisdom and Western practicality. Satyen combines the power of the warrior and wisdom of the sage to inspire audiences and leaders worldwide into their highest impact and personal fulfillment. Having invested 35 years of rigorous study and practice in both creating enlightened business growth and developing higher consciousness, he is the leading authority on expanding success while serving the greater good without sacrificing the joys of personal life. Satyen has impacted over 100,000 students from over 50 countries around the world through his global human potential company, WarriorSage, and has been featured in films, podcasts, and events all over the world. Satyen leads private one-on-one retreats for CEOs, high-impact individuals, executive teams, and is a corporate cultural advisor and trainer for elite companies. Satyen's fearless and heartfelt style transforms your limitations into strengths and your life into peak existence. Welcome, Satyen.
Thank you so much, Matthew. Or
Yeah.
Matt.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate
Matthew, my mom calls me Matthew, so either way, sir.
it. All right. An honor.
Satyen, it's our honor to have you here today. And I've been watching you, observing you, primarily over social media for many years now, and we've been bringing powerful men, transformational leaders here inside the community to be of service, of support to our men here inside the Porn to Purpose community. And I'm truly honored to have you here today. I would love to maybe start off just by maybe let the brothers here who are not familiar with you a little bit about who you are and your story.
Very good. Just that there might be a little misconnection on your audio there. I think it's a little scratchy. But my background is I started off in martial arts as a youngster, and that put me on the path of warriorship and learning how to be a complete man, if you will, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And I came to realize that, to walk this path of life, it's really powerful to have foundational principles and guiding light principles. And so I was very attracted to the path of the warrior and sage. And the warrior to me represents that archetype within us that is impeccable, that lives aligned with truth, lives aligned with honor, that is a protector of ourselves, protector of those who we love, and protector of virtue and value and integrity. So to me, that's warriorship, and really taking ourselves to the edge of what is the known and going beyond that. To me, that's a very valuable part of developing our warriorship for service, not for war, but for service. And then the sage element for me was really all about learning to get in touch with our own innate wisdom, the wisdom that's already within our soul, our tapped in element that's tapped into the cosmos, if you will. And so I've been on these pursuits now for 40 plus years. And it's been I've had a passion for what really develops the human consciousness, what really gets us there quickly, not taking years and years and years to get to where we want to be. So that's been my path. And I'm blessed now to be I'm a family man, celebrating my 35th year with my wife just last week. And we just came back for an amazing honeymoon, next honeymoon, if you will. And, I'm father of two amazing young adult children, 25 and 23. And I feel I'm just scratching the surface of life. So just scratching.
Beautiful, beautiful. I know you have a history in martial arts and a couple different disciplines, I believe. Would you mind sharing a little bit around your background there, sir?
Yeah, I started off in Kung Fu, and I developed my master's in Kung Fu after 20 plus years of training. And I started that when I was 12, and I'm 55 now. So 40 plus years I've been involved in Kung Fu. And over the last decade, I've also started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, of which I would say I'm an intermediate level. And that also has been it's starting from scratch, very totally different from Kung Fu, and very rigorous, very intense, but a whole body chess game. So that is something I get to enjoy with my son. We both train together. It's a nice father and son thing to do, as well as keeping me on my toes now to the next level,
Yeah. So cool. I saw a post that you shared. Maybe it was a couple weeks ago. It was really inspiring, and I shared the idea with my girlfriend as well. And it was a picture of you, and maybe it was your son. You were outside and you were training,
Oh, yes.
and yeah, and you said something to the effect of, "I train because I'm weak."
Yes.
And that was a really powerful idea to me. Could you maybe speak on that concept a little bit,
Yeah.
Satya?
Actually, that was a picture of my son and I training outside. my my wife happened to snap a picture that makes me look better. And I think he was being nice because he knew that my wife is taking photos. So just to let you know about that.
Yeah.
But in that writing I wrote, I train because I'm weak, meaning that we all have these particular challenges within ourselves. We have these aspects that are not fully developed or cultivated, or attitudes or mindsets that aren't 110% or less than our fullness. And there's the idea that I need to be strong to train. No, it's because I'm weak I train. The guys I'm mostly training with are, I'm older than their dad. Okay. So I have to train because that's what brings me into my strength. And so to me, these areas that we are calling shadows, our weaknesses, our tiredness, our apathy, our lack of compassion are actually springboards to say, okay, this is an area that I need to cultivate. It's not an area that I need to beat myself up on or overly judge myself or how low I am or to compare myself to others and say, look at where they're at. No, there's nothing to compare. I take a look at where those areas within my being I can grow and then develop those aspects and make them even into strengths. So, that's the essence of that share, is that it's because the areas that we're lacking is the areas that we can train and develop in. We don't have to have it all together. We can learn everything we have. I'm where I'm at in life because I've learned everything the hard way. Nothing was ever given to me. I never had any magic dust or some success thrown my way. I had to earn every single bit of it. And so I think we all have that capacity to earn the life that we want.
Yes. Something I think is really profound in that idea. There's a gentleman out there, his name's Ryan Stewman, and he always talks about the force of average. And the idea for me, at least my experience with it, is it really speaks to our humanity, is that if we're not consistently cultivating and training and weeding the garden, we have a tendency to begin to maybe digress, if you will, or to slip. So cultivating that warrior, cultivating those qualities are a full-time responsibility we get to engage in.
It's a way of life, Matt. It's a
Yeah.
way of life. As you said, to me, there's two parts of the growth journey. There's the healing, and then there's cultivation. Healing is dealing with our shadows, our kinks, all the stuff that we might feel shame, we might feel guilt, we might feel remorse about, we might suppress within our being, and we don't give space. That's the healing part. But the healing part has to be done also with the cultivation part. I can heal the part of me that doesn't want to exercise, but I got to cultivate doing exercise. So clearing and cultivation to me are path of the warriorship path. So the clearing is the sage, the cultivation is the warrior. And when we have both, we're just cultivating ourselves, developing our body, our minds, our spirits. We're going to move forward in life, but we'll always be held back on some level from the unresolved dynamics we've got going on in our system.
Yes.
And if we just focus on healing, we'll work on clearing that, but we might wonder, well, why am I not moving forward in life? It's because we haven't reassessed where do we want to go now that we are more clear. What skills and attitudes and way of life can I cultivate to move towards my deepest soul's dreams and yearnings? I think it's important to have both.
Absolutely. When I hear you use that analogy, I think of the analogy of the garden. Life is very much like a garden, and we must constantly tend the garden, or else the weeds will begin to grow, right? And so the clearing to me speaks of clearing the weeds, and then the cultivation to me speaks to keeping the soil healthy and tilling the soil.
I love
And
that.
it's yeah, beautiful. Um, this idea of shadow work. Now, this might be jumping off the deep end quickly here, but it feels really relevant to me. This idea of healing the shadow or addressing the shadow, and these aspects of us which maybe we don't want to share with the world. These aspects of us which maybe they feel unlovable, or maybe we carry shame around, and maybe there are these private journeys. Um, what are some ideas that you might offer, or some approaches to begin to address these unlovable parts of us? To me, it's like loving them, giving them space, looking at them, being willing to be present
Yeah,
with them. Um, what would you
very
say around that, Satyen? Yeah.
well. The way I look at our shadow elements, shadow meaning hidden, meaning suppressed. So one of the things that I like to do is I like to make a list of everywhere that I feel guilty, that I feel shame. And I make a list of that. And another really, really powerful two questions to ask oneself: what have I done to others that I think I should not have done? What I've done to myself and others that I think I should not have done. That's question A. You write that down in a journal. What is something I have done that I think I should not have done? Then you write that down, a sentence, whatever it is, or a paragraph. And then B is, how do you think that affected yourself and others? How did that affect yourself and others that you went down that road? And thirdly, the third question to ask yourself in that sequence is, what would I do differently now? And that's the magic. You're not beating yourself for the past. You're taking recognition of, holy, I did this against my own ethic. This is how it affected myself and others. It's good to inventory that. That gives you a reality and gets you to really face what you did by your own self-reflection, not by someone hammering you, by your own authentic inquiry. What's something that I've done that I think I should have done? Or what's something that I did that I shouldn't have done? How did that affect myself and others? And what would I do differently now? So that's one side. There's another hidden shadow approach, is what's something I failed to do that I know I should have done? What's something I failed to do that I could have done? So it's not an overt something that I've done, but it's something I failed to do. I could have done it, but I didn't. Part B, how did that affect myself and others? And part C, what would I do differently now? To have an inventory of these and to really sit down and take the time. You could do this with a friend, a colleague, a buddy, a spouse, someone that you can really connect with and trust, and go through these questions. Spend a couple of hours. It could be around money. It could be around relationship. It could be around sex, the topic. What's something around relationship that you've done that you think you shouldn't have done? How did that affect yourself and others? What would you do differently now? Regarding sex, what's something you failed to do that you think you should have done? Okay. Well, what was the effect on yourself and others? How do you think that affected? Get inventory, really get into real, look at how could that have affected them? And number three, what would I do differently now? This is the way I work with the shadow, is I head it on directly, not indirectly. And you can find it by the things that you've done that you shouldn't have done by your own estimation, and by the things you failed to do that you know you should have done by your own estimation. That'll bring you right to those shadows to become purified and awakened. And then you turn those shadows into light by saying, okay, this is what I'm going to do differently now. I take responsibility of my shadows, and now I'm going to turn them into gifts. And that's where things really change. And that's where you can do all the therapy in the world, but unless you transform it into a gift, you'll still just be dealing with the clearing. You won't be doing the cultivation.
Beautiful. So that's very relevant to our community here around pornography addiction. So I'll share maybe my take on it, and I would love to hear your input and maybe how you address the topic of pornography as it relates to sex and the shadow. So for me, so we have our sexuality, and if the sexuality is, maybe we're wounded early in life, or we've used our sexuality in order to meet certain needs, or maybe we experienced trauma early on, or maybe we are molested as children, or whatever it is. We experience this sexual experience. Maybe it's just an introduction to pornography at a young age. Whatever it is, for whatever reason, we attach to pornography or whatever X sexual behavior it might be in order to fulfill a need. And to me, there's maybe a wound there. It's like that sexuality is not being expressed in a healthy way. So we're going for things that fill a need but don't really serve us. So to me, pornography addiction is like a shadow expression of our sexuality. That would be like my understanding. I would love your take on that as an example, and maybe what could someone begin to do to transmute that, or to begin to address or heal that relationship?
That's a great question, Matt. So I'll break down this distinction, okay, of love. So love to me is oneness, the closeness I have with another, my wife, my children, my dog, you can have oneness with a painting. You can have oneness with a nature scene that you love, a place in nature where your heart opens. You can look at a baby's eyes and go into oneness where your mind dissolves and you're just connected like that. So to me, love is oneness. It's not just this bubbly romantic feeling. It's a sense of separation is dissolving between others. And then when there's no separation, there's just real closeness. To me, that's love. It's a practice. Now, unfortunately, love can get confused with the two other elements, romantic infatuation and sexual polarity. Romantic infatuation is the feeling of, you see someone, there's something inside of you goes, wow, I know them, I've seen them, perhaps I've had past lifetimes with them. There's an immediate type of connection, like a comet rises, and then shortly afterwards, it can crash afterwards with romantic infatuation. Because what's happening is it's your unresolved needs, your unresolved family dynamics are attracting this other person's unresolved family dynamics. And it's this kink meeting this kink, and they feel familiar because they're family, they're unresolved family dynamics. And you don't realize it's a game your psyche is playing, your unconscious playing, and attracting you to someone that you think you're turned on about, but it's really an unconscious shadow, as an example. Now, and then there is sexual polarity. That's simply the arc of sexual energy and attraction between two strong poles, a masculine and a feminine pole. And with pornography, you can see gorgeous people and get turned on by them and have no feeling of romantic infatuation, no feeling of love or oneness or closeness. It's just the thrill of the sexual energy that's coursing through our body. Now, wisdom is to separate them all, is to have wisdom to recognize, sexual polarity is turn on. Romantic infatuation is this unconscious drive to be comfortable around people with the same unresolved family dynamics. And you got to learn to let that go. And then love is a sense of oneness. Now you mix sexual polarity, that excitement, with romantic infatuation. It feels like love, but it's not. You're going to crash. Now take love and sexual polarity, true love, with someone that you care about and love and want to get intimate with or are intimate with deeply. Now that becomes magic, okay? Now, coming back to the addiction part and pornography. So it's not just dark, evil, blah, blah, blah stuff within us. It's the fact that we're men and we're horny and we're built to fuck. We're built to impregnate as many women as we can so that the human species survives and proliferates. You got to get that's at a biological level. At a biological level, we are a sperm delivery device. All our motives, all our energies, all our work, all our dreams, all our aspirations, from an evolutionary biology standpoint, we're designed to maintain ourselves, to look good, to feel good, to be successful, so that we can be better at impregnating and passing on higher quality genes to the next female partner. Now, You might not want to hear that in these modern times. We can get all psychological, all spiritual, and there's many dimensions of that. But we need to take that into account, that it's good to be a man and good to have sexual desires and good to be virile as fuck. And there's nothing wrong with that. Now, how we use that virility, it's either higher, raising us up, or it's lowering us energy-wise. If we take away the stigmas, we're either ascending in our energy utilization or we're descending in our energy utilization. I like to look at it that way rather than, oh, you're bad and evil and moralistically off if you're liking porn. Why are you crazy? Women, men, whatever you're into are gorgeous. They're hot. They're sexy, blah, blah, blah. So it's first recognizing, giving yourself a break and going, I actually enjoy sexual scenes. And then what you do is you feel that sexuality in you, that evocation in your sexual body, and you recognize this is my polarity getting turned on. Okay, my polarity. It could be from the stranger you don't even know, right? On TV or on video. And then what you do is you detach from the personality and you allow the turn on to continue in your body. And rather, because what happens when we have a turn on, our male bodies are designed from young to visual stimulus, right? For me, when I was young, it was a Sears catalog, Eaton's catalog. We have and when I saw the women with bras on, as a kid, right? I'd be like crazy, right? So it's to recognize that it's all good. But when that excitation happens, what you do is you close away from the personality, you let the energy move through you, and you recognize, and then instead of contracting, you learn to open up that energy. Because as a youngster, we get stimulated, we go off somewhere private, bathroom or somewhere, is not to get caught. We masturbate super quick. So we're training our nervous system to masturbate quickly, to ejaculate, so we don't get caught. We're all doing this underneath this clandestine energy. Then we come out of our rooms again. And so stimulation, fast masturbation, we're training our body to come quickly. And then there's this feeling of, oh, okay, like safety and clandestine. Add all of that together, 10, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 times with masturbated as young men. Guess what? That's in our nervous system.
Yeah.
We trained ourselves to be fast at coming and to be excited. If we're not upping the level of excitement in what we see, we don't get turned on. So you know this, we all know this. Now, how do we deal with it? Tantrically, yogically, what we do is we recognize the sexual force is from God, is from the divine. This is from the earth plane. Every creature on the planet's fucking their brains out right now, okay? Everything, every plant, every cell, all of nature is out of their way making love right now, all of it. And we're part of that. When we recognize we're part of that, we become good. Say, my sex is good. My sexuality is good. My sexuality, my vitality as a man or as a woman is good, or is good, and I own it. Now, we say, now the next step of Tantra is not you can call it transmutation, but really it's allowing the energy to move through you and not just condensing it around your genitals, massaging that sexual energy down your legs, massaging it up your body, through your arms, through your head. And then ultimately, in the practice of, the energy is building up in your groin, in your dick, in your genitals. How wide can I feel? How wide can I feel? And then here's the magical part. You add your heart energy, your heart chakra. So as you get turned on, and you can practice this in your own, you masturbate, you get hard, and then you imagine your lover, present or would-be lover, potential lover, in front of you, and you imagine you're opening your heart to them. And as you do that, your genitals will probably relax a bit in terms of their heart on. When that happens, get your heart on up again to 7 or 8, and then slow down, and then open your heart and feel like you're loving your partner again. See, when the heart opens, the genitals relax. We're built like that, hardwired. If we're too emotionally connected to who we're fucking, then what happens is we can't go on and have more babies with other people. Now that we're talking 10,000, 100,000 million years ago in our biology, right? So now what you do is we're learning to train opening our heart and maintaining a healthy erection, lovemaking at the same time. So you go back and forth. Heart, you feel a little waning here, you stimulate, the stimulation goes up, your heart goes up. After a few days of practicing this, you'll find your heart and your genitals becoming closer together, becoming one, that you can actually maintain an erection while you're loving your partner. And then guess what happens? Then the energy naturally starts to transmute. It starts to awaken, and it goes from the lower chakras and it starts to go through the whole body. And then it's a beautiful experience. I'm going to urge all of our brothers here to practice it. And all the sisters, you're going to love this too. You're going to love when your partner is going, oh my God, when you feel that their heart and their genitals are one, that they're connected.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So sex transmutation, that's what we might call that. And it's the harnessing and the focusing and the intentional utilization and connecting with the sex energy. Maybe something in that ballpark. What I find is an important piece of that process, because we also teach here in our community, we're a mindfulness-based community, a willingness to be present with that energy. Yes. That energy is good, and that energy is also here to teach us something, and we can connect with it, and we can also find a healthy outlet for that energy, whatever it might be. But that all requires a willingness to simply sit and be present with that energy and work with it, not just release it like we've been training ourselves to do, as you mentioned, for all of our lives.
You know, another very powerful way to start opening your sexual energy to higher dimensions is take a look at what's your purpose and mission now. Mm-hmm. Not last week, a month ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. What's it now? What's your real raison d'etre? What are you here for? What's my calling? What's my mission, my yearning? What's my vision in the world? It doesn't have to be grandiose. It can be any size, any small. Don't judge it for how big or how important it is. It's yours. Yours is important. And when you say, okay, so my purpose is to enlighten leaders for the greater good. That's my purpose. That's my mission. That's my vision. I see the world lacking in enlightened leadership and transcendent leadership. And so I wish to serve that. That's what comes through for me. So the deeper I immerse myself in my mission, my sexual energy starts to awaken and mature. So one of the things, if you're really virile, you've got that horny energy, say, okay, and you don't just want to release it, you want to try something different, take that energy, sit down, as you said, in mindfulness with deep presence and go, what is my purpose? What am I here for? Even if you got a little answer coming from within, I'm here to make a difference with children. Okay, then you take that energy and you pour it into, okay, what's my purpose? I'm going to go on Google. I'm going to see where I can volunteer my services. Maybe it's to help out with senior citizens. Maybe it's to help out with who knows what, whatever your purpose is. Start pouring that energy of your excitement, your vitality, your virility into a higher purpose. And by just that alone, you'll start a very powerful process, which will start to mature the sexual energy. They'll take it out of adolescent imprints and bring it more into sagely presence.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. What we've recognized in our work is many of us, before we've done the work, and we're all in different stages, are still that little 13-year-old boy inside emotionally that was reaching for that porno magazine or whatever it might be, or was wounded at that young age or had that trauma or whatever it was. He still is in there. So I find a lot of our work is we get to go and help that little boy or that energy now mature. I think, as you've mentioned, with the conscious adult in the driver's seat. Yeah, that's really great. I was hoping to touch on the idea around purpose, which you brought up here, and that's one of the point. I mean, Porn to Purpose is the name of our community. So we recognize that this life force energy, which we've been squandering for much of our lives, or maybe you could say misusing, but just maybe misdirecting or whatever, or being unintentional with, is literally our life force creative energy. We literally create energy with that live. So I think going back to some of the principles that you spoke to here today, what is our healthy utilization of that energy? In order to break a habit, I must make a habit. So much of our work is about identifying the healthy utilization and the healthy direction of that energy in creation, essentially.
Absolutely, my friend. You know, there's another piece that I've discovered in this dimension, and that is the masculine within us seeks freedom over anything else, freedom from the constraints of life. The feminine within us seeks bonding, connection, love more than anything else in life. If we're more masculine, we seek freedom first from the constraints of life, and then love is second. And it's the other way around for the opposite, okay? So having said that, there's a part in our masculine psyche that's always seeking greater freedom from the burdens and the stress and the struggles and the shit of life, okay? Oh man, another thing on my table we're always looking unconsciously for relief of burden, relief of obligation, relief of more tasks so that we can just be free, right? Just be free. So masturbation to pornography is a relief seeking from all the stresses, all the overwhelm, all the buildup of energy in our life, all the stuff we're told. So if we look at, okay, I'm what I'm really trying to do is I'm relieving myself of the inner tension that I'm dealing with. And if I didn't relieve myself, and as you shared your mindfulness community, how can I get mindful, aware of all of this and place awareness on, what am I trying to seek relief with? Seeking of relief and trying to go after relief always backfires. You always end up having to do more later, always having to do more cleanup, more backpedaling, more fixing, more repair. So rather than do that, start off right by saying, okay, I'm going to start letting go of the things that I do to just seek relief from the stresses of life. Could be chocolate, candy, drugs, sex, pornography, whatever the heck it is, right? And you say, okay, instead of seeking relief, how about I seek true freedom? Not superficial freedom that comes, okay, after I've come, right? You're like free for like a few seconds, right? In the moment of orgasm, right? There's nothing there. There's just pure emptiness, nothingness. Why? Because at our deepest core, we are pure emptiness and nothingness, unfettered presence and consciousness. And when we forget that, we try to come back to it. And that's what masturbation does. It brings us back to that. I'm going to give you another metaphysical secret, everyone here. Okay? This is a subtle tantric practice, not well known about. So if I'm going to invite everyone here, especially my brothers, to go, where do you go to after you come? The state of being like that. Just feel that place you go to after you've just come. There's nothing to do, nothing to be, nothing to clasp, nothing to go after, no goals to attain, no shit to handle, no obligations to tend to. It lasts for maybe 5-10 seconds, but it's there for a fleeting moment. So just drop into that with a big on the next deep exhale. So now that's the meditative spot to cultivate after you've masturbated. So now, as you're getting turned on, now throughout the day, the moment you feel, okay, I got this urge to masturbate, I got this urge to, get on and watch some porn or whatever, honor yourself, don't beat yourself up and go, okay, I'm going to feel all this energy. I'm going to feel what's my higher purpose. What's my gift I got to give? Can I open my heart in the midst of this? And I'm not going to seek relief here. I'm going to seek impeccability. Relief is the low vibration. Going the path of impeccability is the higher. I'm going to choose the higher path. And you ask yourself, and you'll know, what must I do now with the energy? It'll tell you. So go to where
Beautiful,
you go
beautiful.
after you come and start there, and you'll find your whole
Mhm,
nervous system will ratchet down, and you'll be less
mhm.
addicted to coming because you know what the feeling is when you do at the end of it, and you can access that without it.
Right. You can just go there.
And it calms you down. It calms your nervous system. It puts you in equanimity. It brings you into a balanced state and more into a Zen, calm state. So that's one of my number one male or masculine meditations.
Mm.
Go to where I
So,
go after I come and then remain
mm,
there for as long as you can 10, 20
mm,
minutes of meditation. It shifts everything.
mm. So beautiful. You mentioned the word impeccability. We use that in our community as well. One of our themes is nobility, living a more noble life, taking the higher path, the higher road. And yeah, what's the higher choice? What's the higher action I can take at this moment? Really beautiful. There's a lot of conversation, Satyen, about the harnessing of that energy, sex transmutation, and what's available on the other side of properly harnessing and focusing that energy. Could you speak to the the power that is available to us on the other side of the intentional use of that energy?
Oh
What's
my,
available to us?
oh my goodness. You want to talk about the universe turning its head for you? You want to talk about manifestation coming through the roof? You want to talk about the less you come, the more you earn, the more you're respected. It's weird. I couldn't ever have believed this when my tantric mentor, taught me this years ago. I go, how is anyone even going to know? Like, I'm not showing any. They say it's going to be in your energy field. People with higher net worth exchanges that you can feel, they're looking, they're not just going by what you're saying or your CV or with the numbers that you've shared on a page. They're feeling who you are. And a man who's mastered his own sexual energy is more trustable than a man who squanders it. Why? Because he trusts himself, which then conveys that trust, emanates, radiates through his body, and he shows up as more noble. It just shows up as more noble, more aligned with the depth of his character. So, as I'm sharing this to all the brothers, it's a journey. You're not going to arrive at it overnight. And don't worry about arriving at overnight. There's no competition. But get on the freaking journey and don't fall off it. And stay on it. Stay with Brother Matt here. Learn the teachings, get all these inspirations, advice, and dial in, and stay on the path. There's no arrival on the path. And that's one thing very valuable for men to know. There's no arrival on our path. It's an illusion to think one day when I've checked off these 6 X's, then or check marks, I'll be free. No, then your brain's going to download you another 10 and another 10. You will never be free one day when X, Y, and Z is done. You'll only be free when you choose to be free starting now.
Powerful, powerful. You mentioned something really important there, and you said people will know that they can trust you because you can trust yourself.
Yes.
That's something that's a very common theme I hear for so many men that come into our community and come into our program that I have the honor of communicating and dialoguing with is I want to be able to trust myself. I want to be the man that I was born to be. And
Yes.
yeah, I believe that trust absolutely translates in relationship.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Hmm. Hmm. Just a quick point on the harnessing of that sex energy. Um, have you gone as far into exploration, Satyen, around this whole idea of not ejaculating in the whole male like internal orgasm without ejaculation? Have you studied that
Yeah.
approach? And is that
They're,
is
they're
that
very powerful practices to learn how
yeah,
to, it's beyond the scope of today's lesson and
yeah.
time, but the to learn how to have internal orgasms is very powerful. It's very different. It's more of an energy experience. Some will get it easier, some might take longer. It's all right. It's worth cultivating. Um, and what was your other point again?
I was just curious about if that was part of your practice
Oh, yes.
and yeah, is that an important piece of the equation? Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to talk about coming, right? How often and such. There are some bodies of school that really advocate zero coming or very hardcore adamant about it. And I think there's value in that if you're really on the other end. But what I found is if you're too hardcore Nazi about it or too, it actually backfires. It's like fasting and you're just using your discipline to not eat junk food, and all of a sudden you go nuts one day and eat a lot of junk food, right? So
Mhm.
it's not healthy to be overly suppressed. The energy has to be awakened and opened, not suppressed through willpower. And just
Mhm.
saying, I'm not going to come for X amount of days. There's a type of willpower. You're learning to cultivate your choice over the power of sex, because sex can override some. It's so powerful, as we know. It's the most powerful force right here in most powerful force for us humans. And so if we um, start on a path to say, okay, I'm going to only come once a week maximum, or twice a week maximum. For me, I've got it down to probably twice a month. Okay, at this stage, when I'm making love with my wife, sometimes 3 times, twice a month. Why? I feel that's the balance for me. If I go too extreme, and I become, you don't want to be around me, okay? And if I become, and I go the other way, then I'm chill. I don't have that ambitious edge.
Right.
So I want to. That's my sweet spot. And wisdom is to find your sweet spot.
Middle way.
You got it.
Yes, yes, sir. Satyen, I know we talked about 45 minutes today. I had just had one more question for you. Is that okay? Or
Yes,
is it
please.
okay? Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah, I would just love to have you touch on this idea, warrior sage. There's this great analogy, or maybe old story or idea that feels really relevant today, and it's about cultivating peace, cultivating certainty in today's world, which can feel oftentimes chaotic or uncertain. And there's this idea of, I would rather be a warrior in the garden than a gardener in the war. And it's about the importance of cultivation of this. Could you maybe speak to the importance of the regular cultivation of that warrior energy, that warrior archetype, and the value that might play in creating a greater degree of peace and certainty today in our lives?
Well, if I do push-ups today, it's not going to look like anything. If I do them tomorrow, I'm not going to look like anything. You come back 2 weeks from now, and you're going to see a difference in me. I might not, because I'm seeing myself in the mirror every day. Come back in 2 months, I will notice, and other people who are close to me will notice if I do push-ups every day, but they're not going to notice. You're not going to notice anything in the first few days. This is the cultivation. This is the part to really grow, that part that's not looking for immediate gratification. You're building long-term gratification muscles. Masturbation is short-term gratification muscles, and we're already masters at that. If we're in this circle, okay, we're great at it. So now we're going to cultivate long-term fulfillment, long-term pleasure, long-term eroticism, long-term turn on. And that's a path, and you got to commit to it. And you got to say, okay, I'm going to become one who carries this sexual energy all the time rather than disseminates it occasionally. And that is a path, and it's a learning path. Be gentle with yourself on it, be kind to yourself with this, and at the same time be resolute how you move forward, and just keep moving forward. That's all you need to do, and you'll become a master of your own sexuality in no time.
Thank you, Satyen. Thank you. I have something to read here real quick as we wrap up, if that's okay.
Please.
And yes, sir. And this is called the Warrior Sage Creed. I would rather see an example than to hear one any day. I would rather one could walk with me than merely tell the way. For the eye is a better pupil, more willing than the ear. Fine counsel is confusing, yet example is always clear. I can watch your hands in action, yet your tongue too fast may run. I can soon learn how to do it if only I see it done. Best of all, the leaders are the ones who live their creed, for seeing good in action is what everybody needs. I may misunderstand you and the high advice you give, yet there is no misunderstanding of how you act and how you live.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
Yes. Satyen, I want to thank you so much for being here today and for joining us and for being your living example in the world of Warrior Sage and all the work that you're doing and the impact that you're having on the world and on the lives of so many. So thank you so much for imparting your wisdom here today.
Matt, it's been a joy and a real honor, and everyone who's listening, all my love and good energy to you as we navigate these unique times in life. And We all have a warrior and sage within us. Let's all step into it fully and move forward valiantly with nobility.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Matt. All my love and blessings.
You as well. Aho.